This is a Marketing for Learning podcast, the only podcast in the world that's guaranteed to increase your knowledge, skills, and capabilities when it comes to marketing for learning. Plus, there's a gratuitous amount of pineapples. You're welcome.
Hello, and welcome back to the Marketing for Learning podcast. It's Hannah here with you today, and I want to start this by saying I've got a bit of a cold. Sorry if I sound a little bit bunged up and a little bit weird. Yep, I've got a cold when the UK is in a heat wave. It's always fun in the world of Hannah. But I didn't want to not give you an episode this week, for one. And for two, this episode is actually inspired by a scoping call that I had just yesterday. I was talking to the head of learning at a really, really huge organisation. We were talking about developing their team, developing marketing skills within their team, of course. And then we spoke about the fact that often learning professionals say, oh, well, I don't know what to do when it comes to marketing. And I want to use this episode as evidence for you all. Because we do know what to do when it comes to marketing. Because we are marketed at every single day. We can't avoid it. As human beings in 2024, we cannot avoid marketing. And I think learning teams can learn so much and get so much inspiration from the adverts and the marketing that is around them. So what I did, I finished that call at about 4:30 yesterday afternoon. It is now 10 to 10 this morning. And I've kept track of pretty much every advert that I have seen. And we are going to look at them and see how they can inspire your Marketing for Learning campaigns. Okay, so the first thing I did after work yesterday was I drove to an appointment. Those of you that are in or around London, I had to go around the M25. So it was long, it was boring, and it was the perfect time to listen to a podcast. And most podcasts these days, not including ours, have adverts in them. So I was listening. I've recently found Grace Beverley's podcast. It's called Working Hard, Hardly Working. Really interesting podcast if you want a new one to listen to. But that podcast is sponsored by the London Business School. And their advert comes at the start and the end of these podcast episodes. So I'm going to play a little clip of that advert for you. And then we can dissect how we can get some inspiration from that advert as learning professionals.
This episode is brought to you by London Business School. London Business School is built on the belief that progress in business is made by embracing different perspectives. Their courses are all about bringing together people who see the world and approach challenges in unique ways. They understand that by sharing and learning from one another, we can tackle problems with fresh eyes and thrive no matter what challenges you might face in business. I always recommend hiring and working with people who are skilled in different areas than you. And I can't tell you the number of times I felt like there's no solution to a problem in one of my businesses, and then a member of my team has looked at it with a different perspective and solved it. London Business School rightly believed that difference drives progress in business, and they are one of the most global business schools in the world, with their alumni based in over 160 countries. They've also got a growing scholarship portfolio, which means they attract and welcome the best of brightest candidates, regardless of background or circumstances. Something I am very behind and that we talk about a lot on this podcast. Find out how difference drives progress. Search London Business School or london.edu.
All right, I've got a lot of thoughts on this advert. In some ways, I think it's a brilliant advert. Firstly, it's from Grace's voice. So essentially, it's like an influencer advocating for the London Business School. It's not from an actor's voice or from somebody at the London Business School. It's from Grace. And her audience know who she is. So there's a level of trust already there. And then she's advocating for the London Business School. So that means something to the audience. So I think that social proof there is brilliant and is definitely something we can gain inspiration from. Secondly, I think they've got the what's in it for me perfectly right here. Listeners to Grace's podcast will typically be young people that have ambitions to be business owners and entrepreneurs, or business owners and entrepreneurs. So they could have gone with the go to London Business School if you want a great, successful career, or they could have gone higher from London Business School if you want the best employees that are going to help drive your business forward. But instead, they've highlighted their values, what they believe in. They believe that our differences drive us forward and that diversity is very important. And by highlighting that, they've subliminally told everybody London Business School is right for you, whether that's going to attend there as a student or hire from London Business School, because these are the right people for you. So they've got the what's in it for me for two audiences without saying anything too overt. However, I do find this advert a little bit long. When I was clipping it to put it in here, it was about a minute long. The first time I heard it, I listened to it or I was captivated. But I'm kind of binging this podcast at the moment, so I'm listening to episode after episode after episode. And I think by the second time I heard it, I was bored about 20 seconds in. So I do think brevity would have made it a bit more impactful, but the what's in it for me and the social proof in the advert makes it a really, really great advert. So how can we as learning professionals use that advert as inspiration for what we do? Well, firstly, I think that really clear what's in it for me. What is the reason that somebody would get involved with a particular initiative? I'm working with a client at the moment and we're talking a lot about capability planning. And I think I've mentioned it on this podcast before. Capability planning is of no interest to any employee in your organisation bar leaders. As a general colleague, I don't care if the business has the right skills to succeed in 5 years' time. I just want my job to be safe. And that's the thing. I want my job to be safe. I want my future to be great. And that's the what's in it for me. So rather than just take this because the business wants you to, because we need to make sure that we're ready for whatever the world throws at us in the next 5 years, we're flipping it on its head and we're saying, hey guys, this is why it matters to you. So I think that's the biggest thing we can learn from the London Business School advert that I just played to you. The second thing I think we can learn is the power of the authentic voice and actually not being the ones to always promote ourselves. We talk a lot here at Mass about influencer marketing and getting other people to be advocates of our offering. That's because it is so much more believable when it comes from a colleague, a peer, a human, not an actor, not somebody that's got a vested interest in making you listen. That advert on Grace's podcast would have been so much less effective if it was from an actor, if it was somebody that worked at London Business School. So get other people in the organisation to share our latest programmes, our initiatives, why it matters. And I'm not just talking about getting leaders to say, everybody should do this, because that's a carrot and stick scenario, isn't it? But I mean, get Joe Bloggs that sits within a business unit that isn't a leader. Perhaps he's got a small team. Get him to share the message. What did it mean to him? What value did it have for him? How did it impact his working day? Use authentic voices in your marketing for learning. All right, so then after my appointment, I got home and I watched some telly with my husband, which obviously then I saw loads of adverts because we wasn't watching Netflix, we were watching the actual telly where there's adverts every 15 minutes. Yay! But the one that stuck in my mind the most, I think it was because it was the first time I've seen it, is the latest Boots advert. I'm going to put the clip in here, but for those of you that aren't in the UK, Boots is a pharmacy, but it also sells like loads of cosmetic stuff. So you go and get like your perfume, makeup, toiletries. Essentially, you go there to get cosmetic stuff and medicines.
John from work said it's a lovely hike.
Triathlon, John.
Yes.
Right, Rosie, can I have the boots bag? No, I meant the hiking boots bag. Did we not bring it?
Such a shame. Save summer with thousands of lower prices at Boots.
All right, for those of you that are listening, not watching this, at the start of that advert, they're at the bottom of quite a big hill, mountain. It's a hike that they don't want to do. And I think this advert works so well because it leverages two kind of emotions. Firstly, doing something because somebody else has said it is a good thing to do, even though it's not what you want to do. I think we've all been there. People are like, oh, you should watch this movie. And you think it's rubbish. But you persevere because somebody's recommended it to you. Or you go to a certain restaurant or a bar or something like that because it's been recommended to you, even though it's not up your street. And that's definitely what's happening to the couple at the beginning of this advert. They've been recommended a hike by somebody that's really fit and really sporty, and it's just not for them. So there's a little bit of humour in there and a huge amount of relatability. But then also at the end of the advert, when they realise they can't go on the hike because they haven't got their hiking boots, there's the joy of missing out. They're chilling on the beach. They've got their sun cream. So a little bit of product placement there from Boots. But it's that joy of missing out. And that's definitely been a big, almost cultural phenomenon since COVID times, really. When people realise, actually, you don't have to do everything that everybody else is doing. So it's tapping into quite a cultural thing that's happening, particularly in the UK right now, about just doing what you want to do. And then, obviously, they've really played on something. And I actually saw a TikTok about this about a year ago, I'd say, maybe 6 months ago, of an American in the UK that was so confused why a pharmacy was called Boots. Surely that should be a shoe shop or a boot shop. But it wasn't. It was a pharmacy. They don't sell any kind of footwear. They were confused. And Boots have leveraged this in the advert, which also, for many British people, just makes us laugh. It's like, yeah, we get it. You haven't got your hiking boots because you've got a Boots bag with loads of sun cream and toiletries in it. I think that advert works really well because of the emotions that it evokes in its target audience. It is very British. I absolutely get that. So if you're not in the UK, probably didn't mean as much to you. But you're not the target audience. And that teaches us a lesson about audience types as well. I also think, especially in comparison to the London Business School advert that we've already looked at, this is way shorter. I think it's like 30 seconds long, maybe 29 seconds long. But it tells a story there. So there's a lot that we can learn as learning professionals from this advert. The first thing you can do using this advert as inspiration is integrate humour into your marketing about learning. There are so many ways that we can do this. I'm working with a client at the moment, and we're just taking the mickey, really, about people clicking really fast through e-learning courses to try and get to the end and proving actually, if you actually did it, you'd learn something from it and it would be more beneficial to you. Humour works so well. It makes you relatable. It makes you more human to your audience. So if you can, integrate humour into your marketing. Secondly, have some kind of in-jokes with your people. I'm working with a client at the moment and I would love to get this in-joke into their marketing. I'm going to try to find a way of doing it. They've got an office in Amsterdam and an office in Manchester. And the offices argue about who has the better lunches. I think Manchester wins by the sounds of it. But that's an in-joke that everyone in the organisation is like, oh yeah, that conversation. See if you can leverage that. Make yourself human to your audience. And I think that's what this advert teaches us really, really well. Being human really matters. All right, so then after watching the telly, I went to bed. And believe it or not, you can't be marketed to while you're asleep. But then I woke up, I was getting ready for work, and as I was coming to my desk, I was just flicking through Instagram, and this advert caught my eye. It's from Monday.com and it's so simple and effective. For those of you listening, it is a really simple static advert that says your team deserves better, and it has almost a comparison between a really crazy Gantt chart, Excel doc style thing, and then a really simple, clean, aesthetic project plan. It gets the point across so clearly, and it has just one simple call to action button that says sign up. I think this advert works so well because it is so straightforward. It highlights the challenge that their target audience face. It shows a solution in really simple ways, visually, right to your face. This is why we're better. This is why it's the solution. Stop doing what you're currently doing and sign up now. I think sometimes in learning, we can overcomplicate our marketing because we want it to be so great. And oftentimes these simple ideas like this Monday.com advert work better. If you've got a learning initiative coming up that's, let's say Gen AI, let's go back to my favourite example. Maybe it is as simple as saying, Gen AI can help you be more productive. Learn how. You don't need all the bells and whistles for every single element of your marketing for it to be effective. And typically in learning, we're working with really small budgets as well. So sometimes these simple solutions are more cost effective and just as impactful. So I think the inspiration we can get from this Monday.com advert is simplicity works, but you have to do it in the right way. You have to make sure that you're addressing, again, the what's in it for me for your audience, that you've got really great copy and really great design. But those things aren't expensive and they're not hard to do when you've really thought about them and you've harnessed those skills and you develop those skills in-house. So I think what this advert can teach us is that simplicity is key, but also let's just go back to the basics marketing skills that we all need to develop, like copy and design, and leverage them to their full potential. And last but not least, once I got to my desk this morning, I saw this email from Place It. And the subject line is what caught my attention. The subject line for this email was free AI tools to help you edit like a pro. Place It is part of Envato, which is like a stock website. So we use Envato elements a lot here at Mass to get our stock imagery and things like that. So their target audience is marketers. Editing is something that most marketers will have to do in some way or another. So they've hit the nail on the head with their target audience there. And AI tools, if it's going to make my life easier, I'm all for it. I'm actually using Motion at the moment to schedule my days and I'm loving that, but I digress. And then they use the keyword free. That's what caught my attention. You're offering me something for free? It's a free tool? I can use it? Okay. Tell me more. I won't lie to you, once I clicked through on the email, it didn't grab my attention that well, but the subject line did. And that's the final thing that I think is a lesson for L&D of the adverts I have seen over the past 16 hours. Subject lines matter. Email is a really, really important tool for us as learning professionals to engage with our audiences. Typically in organisations, employees are sat at their computers and they see their emails all day, every day. So it's one of the most direct and effective routes to get to our audience. But think about how many emails you got yesterday. How many of them did you actually read? How many of them did you skim read? And how many of them did you delete without reading? We don't want to fall into that delete without reading pile. So we need to make sure our subject lines are actually grabbing attention. They're being really clear and authentic about what we want people to do, but they're creating a bit of a buzz. I've seen too many L&Ders craft really phenomenal emails that have spent a lot of time and effort in developing, and then they just chuck anything in the subject line. Don't do that. The subject line is the first thing people see. But I suppose what we can learn from Place It is follow through and make sure the inside of the email is also really good, because if it's not, They're not going to read the inside of the email and take the action that you want them to take, just like I didn't this morning. But it's definitely a lesson there of what to do and what not to do. So that's it. Inspiration that L&D can get from 4 adverts that I've seen over the last 16 hours. These are by no means the best adverts around at all. But that's my point. If we look around us and look at things that do grab our attention and think about, why does that grab my attention? How can I do that? We will come up with some really creative marketing ideas. You will come up with ideas that really improve your marketing for learning. And it is that simple. I think we often overcomplicate it as learning professionals. So all I'm asking you to do in this podcast is think about the things you see day in, day out. Think about how you can apply them to your work and try it. Nothing's going to go wrong if it doesn't quite work for you. We learn from experiences and failures. So give it a go. Try to inject some humour. See an email that really works? How can you change that so that it works for your audience? And then try it. You've got nothing to lose, but so much to gain. So thank you for joining me on this week's episode of the Marketing for Learning podcast. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or just fancy a chat, you know where to find me. I'm always on LinkedIn, so you can drop me a message there. And if not, I will see you on the next episode of the Marketing for Learning podcast. See you later, guys.